Well, joining me now is Richard Lugar, who's former Republican chair of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee and a major player on foreign relations over several decades here in Washington, D.C. Very good to see you, Mr. Lugar. And this is a curious situation. You must have seen very little like this in the past, of a president having to come to Congress on such a major issue as a potential military action.
I applaud the president's coming to Congress. I'm one who feels that perhaps on other occasions presidents should have come to Congress. But in recent years, they have been acting unilaterally. We have the War Powers Act, which says that after 90 days, the president has to come. But after Libya, the president never arrived, war powers or not. So this is a difference, but a constructive one, because the Congress has to be involved. People really have to vote yes or no. And the American people are now going to have to be involved, because they are taking quite an interest in this suddenly.
Do you think that it was originally the president's intention to take it to Capitol Hill, or do you think he only was kind of forced into doing that because the vote that Cameron put to the British Parliament failed, and therefore suddenly the president was rather out on his own?
Well, only the president knows in his walk around the White House lawn for 45 minutes and then his briefing of a very surprised cabinet. But at the same time, I think the vote in the Parliament did influence the situation, as well as a presumption by the president, who is a very good political figure, that the American public was not sold on this. That the American public is war-weary generally, quite apart from Syria or weapons of mass destruction. They're not interested for the moment. They're interested in budgets and in the deficit and this sort of thing.
Why do they feel burnt about military action? Does that date back to Afghanistan, or does it date back to the Bush decision on Iraq 10 years ago? What has turned America against wanting to be the world's policeman?
Well, I think all of the above, the things that you mentioned. After 10 years in Iraq, with some results that were favorable, but very, very disturbing situations even currently, and now over 10 years in Afghanistan, coming and going and what have you, the feeling is that the United States should not be involved in civil wars. Now, the president respects that, and he said we're not going to be involved in a civil war with Assad and the others. But at the same time, I respect the president's judgment that use of chemical weapons is a break in the norms of the world. The Chemical Weapons Convention that all but 5 countries have signed is very serious, and the breach of that likewise. So it's interesting that the Syrians and then the Russians and others have said, well, it's really the rebels that are responsible here. In other words, there is a recognition that this is a pretty horrible event, and a chance to sort of put it on somebody else's shoulders.
You know from all your years as a senator that when such a big percentage of the American public is against something, and they clearly are against a military intervention here, they'll be hitting the phones to senators like you, to their representatives in the House, and they'll be telling them they don't want them to vote for the president's resolution. It's going to be hard for the men and women up on the Hill to back his resolution, isn't it?
Indeed it will be. And the phones already have been ringing all week.
Off the hook.
Now, the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, to its credit, came back from the recess, had hearings, very good debate, took a vote 10-7 with 1 abstention in favor of the president's action. That was courageous on their part, and furthermore, it sort of set the stage now for the president doing 6 interviews today with all sorts of national media, and then for the president speaking to the nation tomorrow night. And likewise, Senator Kerry and others extremely active in visiting individually with members of Congress. So this is a full court press.
You sense that he's got enough firepower to turn Congress round, to back him?
Well, the news media here feel the answer is no, that essentially the number of people in the House of Representatives calling in is not a good sign. On the other hand, unusual things have happened, and I would not rule it out, but clearly the president faces an uphill battle.
If they don't vote for his resolution, where does it leave him? How depowered, how undermined is this president?
Well, it would be a severe blow, because quite apart from Syria, the president has in front of him the agenda on immigration, an agenda with regard to keeping our government open. We come up against this deadline again of the continuing resolution, just to have budgets. We come against the debt ceiling crisis again, with many members of Congress wanting to use these events to stop so-called Obamacare, his medical plan. All of these things are also on the table, and the Congress is going to meet a very few days in September.
But that suggests that domestic politics is going to outweigh any international foreign policy decision. Isn't that dangerous for America? Doesn't it leave America looking weakened in the eyes of the world if it doesn't take action after the president has spelled out his desire to?
Yes, I think it would be a severe blow. And this might lead the president then to a decision, despite the fact that the Congress was reticent, that he will in fact order the strike. And I don't think that should be ruled out.
Richard Lugar, very good to talk to you.
Thanks. Great to be with you, sir.
Thanks for coming and sharing your expertise with us.